Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast, brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. I'm your coach, Kenny Marquardt, and I am joined today by another one of your coaches, Madeline Norris. Madeline is just plain awesome. She's young. She's only 20 years old, but she brings a maturity and intelligence and aptitude that, I just am confounded by every time I interact with her. She is just wise beyond her years. She One of the things that so I'll mention a couple things during this podcast, but another thing that I didn't mention is every time I bump into her, she's the first to ask me how my day is going. She has this politeness that is something that is rare amongst adults, and I'm often caught off guard because again, she asks me before I can ask her, and sometimes I wonder who's the actual mature adult here. So she's got a really cool story that I think you're going to enjoy. And if you haven't been in any of her classes, definitely do yourself a favor and get to one of those. And she's going to start coaching nutrition here soon. So that's another opportunity that once you hear what she's got to say, once you hear what her background is, I think she's going to be a really great fit for a lot of people who are looking for guidance on their nutrition. So yeah, listen up, enjoy. And yeah, give Madeline a freaking high five, and her parents are high five, because whatever they're doing or whatever they did is really impressive. But first, before the podcast, just a reminder that we are brought to you by Momentous Supplements. Momentous Supplements, I've been taking their stuff for a little bit, and I really like it. I'm not a big supplement guy. I only take stuff when I notice a difference, and with their stuff, I actually have been, which is really interesting and really cool. Because again, I've taken a lot of different stuff. I have access to a ton of different things, but the Momentous stuff has really made a difference for me. For example, which if you're listening to this, you can't see me grab it, but I've got some L-tyrosine and some alpha GPC, which is for cognitive function. I take one of those every day in the morning, and I literally do notice a difference. So it just helps me kind of everything just feels like it's firing better. So yeah, you can get 15% off of Momentous supplements at livemomentous.com by using the discount code Sandpoint Strength, all one word. Oh, all right, enjoy. Cool. Well, Madeline.
All right.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's
awesome.
Great.
I'm excited to. You've been in the gym a while.
Yeah, I think a little over 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's getting up there.
Started in the teens program though, right? Most of the teens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Nick was my first coach for quite a while.
Sorry. You stuck around still.
I know. Yeah. Had that dedication.
What brought you in the first place? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, I think most people kind of know I come from a gymnastics background. So that was kind of when I started taking sports and stuff more seriously. I did soccer growing up, but I started gymnastics when I was 9, and it was kind of just more of a recreational thing. I was on a team, but we weren't super well funded. It was just at a YMCA gym.
Was that here or no?
No, this was back in California.
Got it.
Yeah, so I started at this gym, and then the head coach there was leaving, and I also kind of wanted to just take it more seriously. I fell in love with that sport, so if I wasn't in the gym, I was with my friends, making up our own routines at home and stuff like that. So yeah, it wasn't until my coach there left, and then I found a more serious gym that I started going to with actually Olympic level coaches.
Cool.
So the coaches were from Russia originally, and I think a couple of them competed in the Olympics when USSR was a thing. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So crazy background, and then they moved to Texas, where actually the best gym in the country is at, Woga. And so they coached there for a bit, and then they moved to California, where I'm from, and they started their own gym. So it kind of felt like when I found that gym, wow, I hit the jackpot.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wanted to do college level gymnastics. So I was now I'm kind of on the path to get better and stuff. But a lot of times, with gymnastics, there's kind of a stigma and a stereotype around it just being super intense.
Yeah.
super hardcore.
Yep.
So like at first it was great there, but kind of, I don't know, just as I started to get better and take things more seriously, it just like was a really intense environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like the coaches were honestly a bit like abusive, like
I was
verbally.
wondering, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Like kind of that Russia especially has a stigma of that. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know like in the past probably 10, 15 years, like a lot of Olympic level gymnasts have kind of come forward and shed some light on that situation, which is really great because it's not every gym or every coach that's like that, but it's very common in that sport specifically. So yeah, there was a lot of just like emotional and verbal abuse in that situation, and a lot of like body image issues, and there's kind of like a body type standard, and if you're not that, then you do whatever you can to get to that, or you don't get better.
Wow.
So, and like I was one of the older girls there, and I think I started around 11 or 12. So it's a lot of like young kids, and kids, like your body's already changing so much, and it's kind of like that developmental age. So having that constant like body shaming and stuff like that was really,
oh my gosh,
it was really tough.
That's heavy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you said, formative years, like that's just like ingraining some of those things that are probably. Jeez.
Yeah. So kind of like from then on, just my whole relationship with food and exercise, and there's a lot of like body dysmorphia in that sport, and it just was kind of tough from there. There's like a mentality that was really pushed.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, super crazy.
And so then, did you leave that because you moved, or did you leave that because of what you experienced?
Kind of a bit of both. So it was like, parents don't really know what's happening at these gyms because we're training like 20, 25 hours a week, so long practices. So kind of just dropped off, and we don't really know any better.
Sure.
So yeah, parents weren't really super aware of that situation, and yeah, kind of like emotions and pain was just non-existent. Like you were just told to shut up, weren't allowed to feel anything, weren't allowed to cry, nothing. So like I started getting an injury, like what I thought was shin splints. So I just remember being like, my shin hurts so bad. And I mean, you've got a bunch of kids running around barefoot.
Yeah,
so it's like something's bound to happen.
Yeah, conducive to injury for sure.
Yeah. And I remember building up the courage to tell my coach, like, hey, something's wrong, something's hurting. And I kind of just got the gymnastics is supposed to hurt speech.
Oh my gosh.
Like, if you can't handle the pain, then this sport isn't for you, which is like, that was like the biggest insult, because, our worth is kind of based around how good we could perform.
Yeah. So
I was like, shoot, okay, I guess this is just it. Or like she would always kind of be like, this is just growing pains, like that type of thing. So I kept competing, kept practicing, and then I had an injury. I tore a muscle in my back, which I didn't say anything about until the next morning. I was like, I can't sit up. So I had to go to the doctor for that. And I went to like a great doctor. And while I was there, he was like, is anything else bothering you? And so I was like, well, I think I have shin splints. And he's like, well, let's take a closer look at that. And he's like, this is not shin splints. So he got me an x-ray, and I had fractured my tibia.
Oh my gosh.
And he couldn't even tell how old it was.
So yeah.
So it had been there for a long time. And he was like, you'll probably, be dealing with this for the rest of your life, like off and on.
Because you let it go so long, not prepared?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, so he referred me to PT, and, gave me all these, like, stuff I can and can't do at the gym. And so I went back and I told my coach everything, and she was just, like, so mad. Like, she kind of went off on, the doctor doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't work with gymnasts. Like, just crazy stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, she was like, he's not taking into the fact that you're growing, it's probably just growing pains. And then what like got me was she would say, if you don't, run or jump or anything like that, you're going to get fat.
Oh my God.
So she had kind of just convinced me to keep going. And so I did everything the same. And then I went back to the doctor, and he was like, that just started to raise questions of like, why are you not getting better? And I was like, well, she said, I'll be fine. He was like, what?
Nope.
Yeah. So.
How old were you this time for contact?
I think like 12.
Oh my gosh.
13 maybe.
Jeez.
Yeah. So very young.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that, he was so mad, as he should be. And he kind of told me, like, if you can't go to the gym and, scale things back, then you just can't go at all until you're healed.
Yeah.
He even was like, if I need to throw you in on crutches so that she can't make you do anything, I will.
Yeah.
So at this point now kind of brought light to the situation that I was in. And so I stayed there for a little bit, and then I kind of tried going to a couple other gyms at that point, but it really just like my body was just giving out on me at that point.
At 12, 13, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, the amount we were training and how little we were fueling our bodies, it's not sustainable.
Right.
So, yeah, I kind of had to make a decision, like, am I going to stick with it, or the last 5 years of my life kind of just thrown down the drain?
Yeah.
So it was like really tough.
Okay.
Like, it was a tough decision. But at this point was when we were starting to move here. So I just decided to stop doing gymnastics, and it's kind of at like a really low place in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'd been dedicated to that for so long, and there's a lot of perfectionism in the sport, and so just feeling that like failure, like
right,
your self-worth is kind of at an all-time low.
Yeah, it's kind of ingrained in you mentally, in you probably.
Yeah.
That's who you are, and that's what you're supposed to do, and like by not doing, oh my god, and at that young too, like you don't have someone, like there's so little context to the rest of the world, like, or to the rest of your life, like as the age you are now. And for me, looking back, that's like, wow, that's insane. But when you're that young, like you trust adults, like adults with whom you look up, you coaches especially, and then tell me, like, oh my gosh, that's heavy.
Yeah, it was definitely rough, and you don't have, like you're saying, you don't really have that perspective, so it feels like, well, now what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, because I was kind of on that trajectory to go and do that through college. So yeah, it was kind of tough, but that was when I found Sandpoint. Well, at the time, CrossFit Sandpoint.
Yeah.
And how I kind of got into that was like talking to my friends back in California. CrossFit was like all the rage in California.
Yeah.
And so I knew a lot of people who had also quit gymnastics around the same time. And they were like, we're starting CrossFit. And I had no clue what that was, but I was like, that sounds cool. Like, let me see if there's a gym around here. And I convinced my parents to take me. And that was when I started going and joined the teens program where, Nick was my coach, and he was a great coach. And it was just a whole new world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little different. Nick's a little different than those coaches, probably.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. No, I remember like something that really kind of stuck with me was there was one workout where I started feeling kind of dizzy and lightheaded, and I was like, oh no, I can't, say anything. But he noticed I wasn't feeling well, and so he asked me like, so what have you had to eat today? And in my head, I'm like, oh no, I probably like eaten too much.
Oh man.
Like that's the problem. And so I told him, and he was just like, well, you haven't eaten enough. Like, that's why you feel this way.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, what? It's like, he doesn't know me, he's just like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, I'll be right back. Just sit down for a second. And he goes to his snack drawer and brings me a snack. And I'm like, this man is crazy. He's telling me to eat more? Like, what?
Yeah.
And he was kind of, just eat, drink some water, and sit down until you start to feel better. And that just, like, really planted that seed. I was kind of like, whoa. And, after a few years of just being in this, like, community where that's, like, way different. We put a heavy emphasis on, like, nutrition, and food it's not calories, it's fuel.
Right.
And so, eventually just that mindset change, like, was really
cool.
Really helped me out of that rough time.
Oh my gosh.
So
I didn't know that story. Like
Yeah.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Do you still deal with that at all? Like that's so like again formative years stuff. Like I feel like that gets really ingrained hard. It's hard to unwire that. Do you have any of
Mhm.
that? Do you deal with that at all, or do you feel like that's exercised out?
I would say for the most part, like, you know, I've learned the right mentality to have, and I've made a lot of progress. But there is some things that kind of stick with you, and I have to constantly remind myself to unlearn, what I'd been taught for so long. But I would say in the last couple years, especially, it's improved a lot.
Okay.
It took a while to get there,
Yeah,
but
I bet.
yeah.
It's like I feel like growing up in a religion, like if somebody leaves that religion, it's still in there. Like it's still a wiring.
Mhm.
It's just hard to
Definitely.
unwind that stuff sometimes. So
For sure.
I'm happy it sounds like that's been a better. What a blessing to move here. Like in hindsight, probably like I said, dark time because your identity gets rattled. But I don't know. I think this is a better path.
Definitely.
Do you still know anybody that is competitive in gymnastics that like went through did the whole thing?
Not at that specific gym, but just from, different gyms I had gone to here and there, I do know a handful of people still, but yeah, and talking to them now, we're kind of like, what was that? Like
Yeah.
that was bad,
Yeah.
and I don't think I realized right away how bad it was too. It took a handful of years being in, a healthy environment to be like, actually my eyes opened
Yeah.
to how bad that situation was and how much it does have an effect on people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's wild. So disappointing and like concerning just as coaches now, like knowing how much of an impact you can have on somebody, hopefully positively.
Mm-hmm.
I granted not nowhere near to the extent that you did, but like those like bad coaching can really impact a kid's life for a long time, if not forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's transitioning from that, like talking about you coaching. Like, so you've been coaching here for what, 2 years now or so?
I think a little over a year. I was shadowing Nick for
that's right.
quite some time first. Yeah, I think it's been a little over a year now.
Yeah, you're right. Because we're in the middle of the open, and I think you've just kind of taken over some classes around the beginning of the open last year.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was kind of thrown into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my favorite, like the thing that really like impacted me so much last year was it's a bit of a crap show with the open on the Friday nights thing, and that's your blog.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many people were there, but it's a lot. It's a lot to manage and explain whatever. And I was like, "Do you want me to start this off for you?" And you're like, "No, I got it." And I was like, "Sweet, like that's awesome." Yeah. So I don't know. That was just, and you did amazing.
Thank you.
For a couple days or a couple weeks into your coaching and leading adults and doing that, like you just grabbed the bull by the horns and ran with it and did amazing. Yeah. In fact, I remember looking at Amanda, and I think I looked at Lisa, and we all were kind of like, "Holy crap! Like she's nailing this. Like this is amazing."
Thank you.
Who is this person?
I know. Even I surprised myself. Even I was kind of like a bit intimidated, but I was like, this is my moment to either flunk and embarrass myself, or everyone's gonna know that I actually can do this now, and kind of prove to myself that I could do it.
Yeah, so, you definitely did. Yeah. So yeah, that was a demonstrative moment for me, for you. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And seeing you like wrangle the teens too, like that's another one of these impressive things where that teens program is huge right now. Mm-hmm. You got them all, like they're all listening, they're all doing stuff. It's really neat to see. So
thank you.
And I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 20. I just turned 20.
Yeah, so you're young. Mm-hmm. And so to have the authority to lead people 2-3 times your age and coach them, like it's really cool. It's neat to watch, and I think you're gonna have a pretty kick-ass career in this thing as long as you're gonna do it. What do you like? What do you find rewarding about this? Like, what's your driving force in this love?
Well, with like teens specifically, it's just, I mean, they're all so great, but it's just a really like cool thing with the background that I kind of come from. It's like, I see myself in a lot of these kids, and so the fact I'm able to be part of like giving them a safe space and a good experience, just getting into the gym, and whether they do sports or whatever, just letting them have fun with it, and it's really really fun. And then with the adults, kind of the same thing. I know a lot of people to an extent can kind of relate to like what I come from, or just, I think it's really cool that we have people just from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. And so getting to learn about that and help people, it's just been a really great experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And especially like how we deal with kind of injuries and stuff like that. I mean, like, especially with my story, like another kind of core memory I have coming into this gym was like, I think I'd been here for a couple years and I broke my wrist front squatting. And just like coming back and telling Nick, like, hey, I can't, do this stuff. And instead of him just ignoring me or getting mad at me like I'd been used to, he was like more than excited to, scale things for me and make me just feel included. And I know that's kind of a common thing that people say they feel in this gym, like whether it's an injury or some other limitation, like just the fact we're so excited and like willing to help people and make them feel included no matter what.
Yeah.
Like there's really something for everybody, and it's really cool to be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I think if we can make people feel more positive about themselves or their day, like I think that's what we can do the best, regardless of what they perform as or show up as or whatever. And I guess, like you said, like your experience as a young athlete, being the exact opposite must bring some joy to you to try and reverse that for people, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience.
Yeah, that's cool. What's your like athletic journey like right now? Like, so growing up that way, like, do you feel like your like, how much are you keyed into like performances in CrossFit, or like, do you, like, what are you striving for these days?
Well, right now, just I think, as you know, I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury, so kind of just trusting the process with that. And it's a little like it can be a little discouraging to feel like I'm not, getting better in certain areas. But I think for me, my main goal is just finding like a balance. So something that I can kind of maintain, and also just like the reason behind why do I work out? Like for so long it was kind of to lose X amount of weight, or to, try and fit a body type that I'm not,
Yeah.
just working towards that. But now it's my overall goal is just health, like longevity.
Yeah.
And what I can sustain for a long time. It's kind of about just keeping healthy and taking care of myself, and kind of listening to what my body needs. So yeah, which was really tough for me at first. So I'm kind of just getting the hang of it now, and trusting like our bodies know what they're doing. And instead of going against it and ignoring the cues and signals, just kind of working with the natural process. And it helps you succeed a lot in that way, in a healthy way.
Yeah. How much did your because your shoulder, because that's the injury you're talking about, right? I mean, is that what we decided? Shoulder back, because it's kind of somewhere in the middle there, right?
Yeah, in between.
Do you know what that is yet?
The doctor said it's probably something called thoracic outlet syndrome.
Okay.
If you've heard of that before, yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of, I guess, coming from my neck more, but I feel it in my shoulder and in my back.
Got it.
So.
Because that, like with your wrist, like that was a diet, like you could look at the X-ray, like this is a thing.
Yeah. With
the shoulder thoracic outlet syndrome, like how much of your previous, like, did you want to ignore that? Which I kind of know the answer, but
yeah,
we chatted about it.
Yeah.
But like, do you feel like you were inclined to push through it and ignore that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have to remind myself, like, you're not 12 anymore, look how it turned out pushing through that injury and the other injuries I've had doing gymnastics. So, but it's definitely, I guess, one of the things that has been a struggle still with my background is, asking for help and not just dealing with pain.
Yeah. So
there was definitely a handful of times where I'd ask Lisa, like, you think I should go to the doctor? She's like, yeah, I think you should have a month ago. I'm like, okay, do you think I should do kettlebell swings? No. Like, okay, just making sure I'm not, overreacting or whatever.
Yeah. So. Well, it's the opposite. I mean, yeah, I think that the wiring, you just in there to be like, you can't trust these. Well, you either trust them to, you're trusting adults, or which again, for the previous context, they're adults. Now we're all adults, but like you're trusting somebody to like guide you what is best for you. Yeah, I don't know. It's proud of you for having to deal with that and pushing through it and deal with your shoulder and for asking out. I do have some resources I could probably share with you after this, but this is a little bit of a change of topic, but like you are so mature for 20. I feel really old for telling you that. Like where's that come from? Like you have like an old soul. Like you just have this maturity. So. Yeah, I don't know where's that come from. Like you just have this like demeanor and attitude and I don't know, interaction with others. Like it just you are like double your age and how you handle things and how you talk about things. Where does that come from? You know?
Well, I do think a lot of it kind of did stem from gymnastics and stuff. You know, they teach you a lot of discipline and like I don't know. I can recognize an ex-gymnast from like a mile away for that. Yeah. And also just I guess the way I was raised and you know their childhood. Like I kind of like my mom was caretaking for my grandma from a very young age, so I kind of just learned independence. You know, and I guess that just stuck with me. So. Yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, totally. I'm not sure there is an answer. It's just something I observed and was curious to know if you like were aware of that or if that's like just something. I mean, I know you're just you. So whenever everybody asks about their like some of these qualities, it's hard to define where they came from. But it's just something that's. I'm just curious if that was like how you're raised or.
Yeah, probably just a mix of, you know, different things in my childhood. I guess that's kind of shaped me. Yeah. To be this way, but I just have always liked being independent. Yeah. Even from a young age, like I don't want help unless I really need it, which can be good and can also be bad. So I've, you know, started to find a balance and, you know, gotten comfortable with asking for help when I do actually need it. Yeah. So that's something I still kind of work through, but I'm getting better with it. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of that's why. That's awesome. I guess I'm trying to like learn what I can do for my son to try and help him turn out like what's the secret here? I wouldn't recommend sending him to a gym like that. Yeah. Right. Not gymnastics. Okay, good to know. Okay. Yeah. Got it. What's the future hold? Like what's your I'm sure you hate this. I hated this question when I was younger. Like, what are you gonna do? Do you know like do you have future thoughts and there's kind of a lot of like different things. So like right now I'm taking precision nutrition and that's kind of like my first step, I guess, into that world. Like I really enjoy coaching and, you know, I like to do personal training and stuff eventually, but I think where I really feel most passionate about is through nutrition, just because it's always been super interesting to me how, you know, food can be healing to the body and stuff like that. So that's kind of like a start, and I'm gonna just gaining experience right now to test the waters and different things and see what I actually enjoy. Yeah. Like I haven't been to college or anything, so I was kind of holding out on a couple years to see if that's where I want to go, just before, you know, getting into a bunch of debt and then being like, I actually hate this. Totally. So yeah, just trying to pinpoint specifically what I want to do career-wise, and if college is the next step, then figure it out from there. Yeah, cool. Yeah. What's the perspective of college like for your age group these days? Which is again weird questions, but like I think that it's evolving in a way that like everybody used to feel like okay, high school then college, and I think like you just said, a lot of people just go to college because that's what they're supposed to do, and they end up with a bunch of debt and some certificate that says they can do something that they don't ever actually do, or it's kind of useless. Like, is that more apparent? Do you feel like, or you probably don't have the context of what it used to be like, but is that a conversation that a lot of people are having? Is like, don't do this unless you know exactly what I do, or? It really depends. I feel like my generation is kind of like branching out of that. Yeah. Like, you just go to college because you know my parents have experienced that. Like my mom didn't use her degree that much. You know, she got a business degree and then ended up having kids and was a stay-at-home mom. So, you know, having that perspective. But I think my generation is kind of a bit mixed. Yeah. Like I definitely do feel the pressure a lot of times to like, oh, I should be in college by now. And so having to remind myself and like, slow down, it's okay. There's no end date. Like, I can go to college in my 40s even if I wanted to. So just, yeah, kind of making sure that is what I want to do before getting into a bunch of debt. But also, like, now there's so many job opportunities that you can have without getting a degree.
Yep.
It's still good to have an education of some sort, but I feel like there's so many more opportunities opening up for the kids who don't feel that college is the route for them.
Yeah.
Which I think is really great. So just have that option.
Yeah. I mean, that's me. And actually, Jen, we both went to school and we both got degrees in law and society. And then we both graduated and I'm like, okay, well, now what? Like, I didn't want to go to law school.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of did a couple gap years. I worked in nightclubs and screwed around. But I felt that, like, now what am I supposed to do? Like, all these things were so lined out. I think it's pretty neat that that's changing a little bit, and people are allowing to kind of dip their toes in different things. And alternative education's so good now. I mean, this is what I just said. Like, starting a gym, like, I was all just kind of went through certifications and learned and tried to do it on my own. And I think that's very feasible for people these days to kind of figure out the help they want to do with their own experiences. So. Yeah, I kind of shudder at that pressure you alluded to, where because people always ask me what I just did. So sorry, but like, what are you going to do? When are you going to school? Like, what's the next thing?
No, and the way you asked it didn't
okay.
feel like that.
Good. Because I hated that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still feel that, like, from certain people, you can tell, oh, you're not in college, and it's like, it's fine. I don't have to be in college. Like, I kind of have to. I'll get that doubt a little bit that, I'm doing the wrong thing. But I think society just in general kind of puts that pressure on people to, like, it feels like, your life is almost over, or like, you have to kind of rush into doing all the things and then, settle down and have a family, and everybody is just so different. And I think that's a good thing. Like, we shouldn't all be on the same. Imagine how boring that would be if everyone just, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then you die.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
100%. Yeah. So I think embracing that and just kind of like, what do I want my life to look like?
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like, my life is over at 20. Like, it's not. But I feel like a lot of people my age kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting old. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with getting old, obviously, but I think that's just like a negative mentality that kind of gets pushed on people. So just breaking free from that. Yeah,
for sure. I think confidence comes with age in decisions and all the others, but like the confidence to be like, yeah, I don't know, this is what I'm doing. Like, it's I don't know, we'll see where it goes. I think that's such a good thing. But we felt that too. For a small example, like Jen and I, we said I have one kid, and everyone's like, well, when are you gonna have another? I'm like, we just set it up one. Like, that's what we're gonna do. Like, why not? What's going on? Like, what's the problem? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, this is what we want. This is our life. Let us be the thing. So I'm hoping that I think generationally things change as we like. Hopefully, gonna impart that upon our son, and like, so hopefully that's faded. What's it like working with my kid? Is he a maniac?
No, he's actually like one of the more well-behaved kids.
Really?
Yeah. No, he's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
We can talk about it off the air if you want. He's really.
Yeah, I'm just lying for the camera.
Yeah, right.
So we'll talk later.
He'll be home in a minute. We'll all verify this. Oh, really? See, that's funny. I'm glad because he gets squirrely sometimes. So.
And he's one of those kids where I don't have to, if he does kind of start to veer off or whatever, you don't have to do much. Just like, hey, G, focus. And he's like, okay.
That's
so
awesome.
You guys seems like you're doing a great job.
Okay. It's flying by the seat of your pants raising kids. So whatever that's worth. That talent that you have with that group, like, that's something I don't think that I can do. Like, I'm not sure I could corral that group. I mean, there's like 15, 16 kids in there sometimes. Yeah, sometimes even more. It's definitely, can definitely be a handful, but they're so fun. Like, I honestly prefer when it's a big group of kids because, they're all friends with each other and it's really
cool to see them like enjoying it. I
Yeah.
kind of, I'm more of like a type A person, so I want things to be in order. And so I think coaching these kids has helped me let go from that a little bit, because I'm like, okay, it's not going to be perfect. They're not all going to have things mapped out. Most of the times they just do the workout and don't even know what they're doing, and that's okay. Like, they're having fun with it. They're just enjoying the experience, and I'm just there to, make sure they're having a good time.
Yeah.
And it's not competitive. And I think, yeah. So that's kind of helped me a little bit.
Yeah. I think you said it without saying it, but like that's the exact opposite of the experience that you had.
Definitely.
Just show up, have fun, make this fun, so they keep doing it forever, and not look back on it with trepidation or concern about what it did to them. Hopefully, it's a rewarding experience.
It really is, and it's honestly like it kind of heals that inner child a little bit in me.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite. As much as am terrified of coaching it, I think it's one of my favorite things that we do. Like watching you work with these kids, like to impact their lives positively. It's like it's such a neat thing to hopefully. Because do you see it with some of our adults? I mean, you mentioned that you could spot a gymnast from a mile away, but like, do you notice the same kind of like mindset that adults can have depending on their own like exercise history and coach history, whatever it is? Like, do you notice that with them?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Like, I think, we as coaches, like, it's good to kind of get a read on people for that. Like, as we build relationships with members and we, kind of know their background, and we know, like, okay, this is what they need to hear, and this is going to be, this is why they're here. And so I think it's cool that we have that, like, maybe we can kind of coach to the individual person, even though we're coaching group classes.
Yeah, totally. Do you ever bring out that competitive side, like for not the competitive side, but like that coaching perspective? Like I've had people be like, I need to be beaten on or yelled at or whatever. Like, do you ever I have a hard time doing that, like, because I hate being coached like that. I like to be encouraged, told what to do, and then you go do the thing. Do you ever find have people tell you, like, no, I want to be scolded or beaten on or whatever?
Not really, probably because they don't think that I have it in me. So
sure. Yeah.
They're like, yeah, she's not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't had that a whole lot. But I don't know if I even would be able to, because, just like I know what that feels like. And some people do work really well under that pressure. But me personally, it's like I hated that. So, yeah.
I do same. I have a really hard time. I've had people be like, yeah, that's what I need. I'm like, I don't know that I find it to be counterproductive. Again, thinking about it from some of the things we've touched on, like the overall experience should be positive. Like, I don't want you to exercise or perform out of fear or self-loathing. Like, you're not worth something if you don't perform well. So I don't want to bring that out. So I've always grappled with that internally. I'm like, I'm not sure I even want to do this, even if I could.
Yeah.
So.
And I think for me, I would be more concerned, like, so what has happened to you to make you like feel you need that, and kind of working through that a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, great perspective. Like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
What's unresolved in there? Let's sit down and talk about this. Maybe
let's go to therapy.
Sure. Totally. That's awesome. I think that's other things I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, anything else you want to share, like, get into at all? What's your nutrition, like, sorry, I will ask about, because when you mentioned the PN or precision nutrition certification, like, what's that like as far as again, I keep referring back to the gymnastic things just because I think that's so impactful. Like, is that unraveling some of that stuff again? Like, I know you referenced food as fuel. Is that certification kind of going through that process again, like, to refine that new mindset on it?
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like honestly that's, helping me overcome some of the last like battles that I've still been struggling with from that gymnastics experience. It's definitely been really healing and just like, I guess, validating to kind of learn about like, nutrition and how our bodies work. And, there's a heavy emphasis on like everybody is different.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been able to heal a lot from that, learning about nutrition. And I think it's really interesting. And the fact that I could potentially help other people through that is what's most exciting to me.
Yeah, awesome.
So,
Do you have somebody that like you were really hungry to work with? Like not necessarily talking about people individually, but like an avatar or like a certain, somebody with a background or whatever. Like is there a population that you're really excited to work with in that?
I would say mostly like women in general, just because even if they, even if you don't have the same background that I specifically have, I know just how society is. Like from a very young age, women are, aware of their bodies and, having to eat a certain way. And so, like, I think, men deal with it too. Don't get me wrong, but I just understand it more from like a woman's standpoint.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in working with other women or even just kids in general.
Cool.
So
Yeah, super cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that I think that the tide has definitely turned a little bit. Again, generationally, if you look at it, I'm hoping that this is something that we can pass down to the next generations and such. But I feel like the performance side of things is something that men have always had the benefit of the doubt about, like where it's like, well, you can look, doesn't matter how you look, it's kind of how you perform, and there's more athletic perspective on that. And I think that that has changed. Whether it's CrossFit or anything else, I think that that's been more of a like your body's just like if you're tuned into like health, wellness, and like performing in the gym, not necessarily competitively, but like what your body can do. Like that's what it's about more than anything. And like if you can do the things you want to do, like who cares what your body looks like?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. So I think I'm excited for you to be able to do that with people.
Thank you.
Bring your perspective to that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know what the future holds, but trying to be excited instead of scared. So
don't be scared. You are you can do anything you want. And I'm not just saying that. Like you have the personality, the intelligence, the aptitude. Like you've got it all. So I'm excited to see where you go. And I'm just thrilled to have you part of the team. And I think everyone's so lucky to have you lead their classes or work with their kids or whatever else you decide to do. So
thank you.
Yeah, don't be scared.
Okay.
You'll be awesome. Whatever
Thank
you decide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me. This was a cool experience.
Good. I think you got some kids to go wrangle and then some adults to wrangle too. So
yep.
See you in just a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. Sweet. It was 40 minutes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Did not feel like that.
All right. Thanks for listening. Man, like I said in the intro, like what a special person Madeline is. We are very lucky to have her. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Don't forget that we are brought to you by Momentous Supplements. You can get 15% off at livemomentous.com by using the discount code SandpointStrength, all one word. All right. See you next time.